Episode 1. Welcome Home. Welcome home, Aaron's point of view. Interior of Aaron's car. Aaron takes out a disc. It has, "From Simon to my big bro," written on it. He puts it in the CD player, jamming out to heavy rock music. Roll intro credits.
So I shall begin. I am Doug Grosser, and I shall be playing the role of Brody, as well as Simon and Tracy and Vampire 2. Yes, that's all I wanted.
Vampire 2.
I wanted to react.
He has like one line.
No, he has two lines.
Oh, sorry, Vampire 2.
Vampire 2 has two lines.
That's why he's Vampire 2.
Yes, he's supposed to Vampire 1. Or 3.
Yes, don't get me mistaken for that Vampire 1. We don't talk about him.
It's your turn.
The narrator will be
Oh,
voiced
he's
by
obvious,
Josiah
yeah.
Bonchance.
Aaron is voiced by John Laughlin.
I'm Cameron Hoganek, and I voice Zach.
I'm Emily Williams, and I play Soup and Sarah and Mrs. Bark.
Oh no.
Sergeant Reinhardt will be voiced by me, David Maspergen.
And I'm Skylar Gorset, and if any of these guys don't have their voices, I will be voicing. No, I'm just
I
kidding.
didn't even know
I will
those
be
were
voicing
Cameron.
all the
Cameron.
extras, which include
Brad.
Bath and Mr. Berkeley.
What's all the B names?
Yeah.
I'm noticing.
Oh yeah, I
that.
also voice Kathy, who shows up
Uncle Bob.
as well. Kathy.
Kathy.
That's me. I'm Kathy.
Kathy, darling, come for dinner.
Yeah.
Oh,
Keep going, yeah, keep going.
We see Aaron's hands on the wheel, and we notice a large ring with a strange blue stone on Aaron's hand. We see Aaron's speedometer, a solid 65, and increasing as we hear Aaron's engine revving. We pan out, cut to a big, shiny pickup truck driving towards the highway, towards town. Speed increasing. We see a highway sign reading 50 miles per hour, and then a sign reading Ravenwood, 5 miles. Establishing shot of Ravenwood, it's a bright, cheerful, sunny day. Ravenwood isn't quite a small town, but it has that historic, tight-knit community feel. Between 50,000 and 150,000 people. Expansive yet homey, cut to churches, light gleams off of an old-style courthouse. Brick buildings, old yet still well-kept, Victorian-style houses. Cut to exterior Aaron's house.
That is a huge thing.
Quintessential.
What are we cutting?
Quintessential.
I think it's
Is that me still?
It's
Yeah, it's
yeah.
still you.
Basically, if it doesn't
It's
have
not highlighted.
Sorry.
anything that doesn't have.
You don't know how much I had to highlight for you, okay?
They're running out.
You're basically everything.
Also, I think you need to swap seats with Johnny.
Oh,
Because you're so quiet. I don't think this mic's going to pick up anything you say. And you're an important character.
Johnny,
Honestly, you might be
welcome to
the
the
important
party.
character.
The
Uncle
quintessential,
Bob.
the quintessential Midwest American home. Old Victorian style, white picket fence, front porch with porch swings, well-tended flower beds, establishing shot. Mrs. Burke in the kitchen making brownies. Mr. Burke grilling out back. Sarah working on a banner that says, "Welcome home, Aaron." Welcome home, Sarah's point of view. Sarah is carefully putting the final touches on the banner. She's getting ready to hang it. What?
I don't know. She's just slapping glitter
Over the door.
That's how
But
I
it's
make
really a two-person job. We hear footsteps behind Sarah. Sarah turns. Brad is coming over to help her. He smiles.
Yo, Sarah, let me help you out with that.
Aaron's point of view continues.
Good job, Brad.
Cut back to Aaron's pulling into town. We see him driving past an old mom-and-pop's diner. The street he's driving down has a classic 60s vibe. As Aaron drives, we see him take an engagement ring case that's on the holder beside his seat. He slips it into his pocket. Welcome home. Omniscient point of view. Omniscient point of view. Focus on Simon. Cuts back to the party. Mr. Burke is grilling out back. Mrs. Burke is making Aaron's welcome home cake in the kitchen. Brad and Sarah are finally almost done pulling the sign up over the door. Mrs. Burke walks to the stairs and calls up.
Simon, it's time to come down. Your brother could be home any minute.
1 sec, Mom.
Interior
Now, Simon!
It's fine. You just want to
Skip you.
Don't you disrespect your mother.
It was in my heart.
Cut to guests walking down the street and knocking on the door. More people are starting to arrive as Mrs. Burke comes to the door to greet them. Aaron's point of view continued. Cut to Aaron driving down the street. We see a sign, Burke Open House Party. Briefly show the sun, still bright in the sky, but clearly starting to get later in the afternoon. Cut to Aaron pulling into the driveway. Aaron gets out of the car. Everyone is waiting for him outside under the Welcome Home banner.
Swag.
Welcome home!
Sarah rushes down the steps to greet Aaron. She immediately wraps him up in a hug. They talk for several seconds, clearly pleased to see each other. She hooks arms with him, and they walk back towards the door to greet other people. Aaron hugs his mom and dad.
Who's my dad?
Do we read the crying and throwing arms?
Throw your arms around Aaron.
Dad and I are so proud of you, Aaron.
It's good to have you back, son.
It's good to see you too, Dad.
He gives his dad a big hug and claps him on the back. Aaron turns his attention to his younger brother, Simon, tousling his hair a little.
What's it like, Aaron? Did you get in lots of grenades and shot lots of stuff?
Flashback, Aaron's point of view. We see Aaron and his squad camped among some
His
hills.
brother just gave him a PTSD moment.
Keep going.
He's talking to the man next to him, who is grinning mischievously. Aaron punches him in the arm playfully. Suddenly, we and Aaron see a glint of light from the distance. Ambush! Aaron pushes.
Hold up. Okay, I gotta establish one thing. Does he yell ambush in the flashback, or is he just standing in front of his brother? Ambush!
And then I tackle my mom down.
He's probably both.
Then I tackle my mom.
You're okay, you're in a safe spot.
Aaron pushes his squad mate to the side just as bullets come whizzing by. We see the bullets graze Aaron's arm instead. Aaron aims his gun and starts firing at where the enemy is. We see one man go down, then several others as the members of the squad take them down. But the Marines are hit too. We see Aaron stare in horror as one of the insurgents shoots and hits the friend he just tried to save in the throat. The man chokes and gasps. Aaron yells furiously and leaps up, firing wildly at the last insurgent until he goes down. The other Marines yell at Aaron, screaming at him to not be so reckless, but their voices are muffled and indistinct. One of the other Marines grabs Aaron's arm and pulls him back down to cover as more shots are exchanged. We see tears streaking down Aaron's eyes. Aaron's point of view continued. Aaron tries and fails to put on a smile. His glazed over eyes focus one more time on Simon.
Fine. It was fine.
Aaron takes a deep breath.
I still haven't talked to Brad yet. I'll be right back.
Aaron's parents watch, concerned as Aaron moves down the line, greeting other random people. He doesn't seem to be putting too much enthusiasm into it now. Aaron shakes his with Uncle Bob.
Bob?
We see Bob taken aback and perhaps a little offended by this cool greeting.
Cool.
But he doesn't say anything. Aaron shakes hands with Kathy.
Kathy.
Aaron continues to move down the line towards Brad. Brad claps Aaron on the shoulder as Aaron reaches him.
Well, you look about as happy as an Eskimo in Africa, man.
It's good to see you too, Brad.
Wait. Hold up. Okay. It says sarcastic, so like, does he not mean it's good to see you? Okay.
I'm supposed to skip this
I
bottom
guess
line.
it's good to see you too, buddy.
Yeah, go to this one. Oh, that's Brad's line.
I'm next. Seriously
I
though,
wanted to-
Aaron, if there's anything I can
wanted to
do,
know
you know,
that's why
I'm
I
here
asked
for you,
that.
man. Right?
I know. It's nothing, just bad memories, that's all.
Well, we've all missed you. I see you at the Ribbonwood High kickoff game tomorrow night, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't miss it for the world, man.
Ah, good. You're like the star of this town, man. Coach still talks about you and tells all the new players They need to play like Aaron the Beast. Burke.
After all these years? I don't believe it. I knew I was the team captain and all, but I'm not that special.
Oh, it hasn't been that many years. But enough about the past. Why don't we head inside and get some food, Aaron?
Aaron and Brad walk through the door of the house together, talking. Cut scene as they enter the house. Squad prep. Sue's point of view. We are in split screen. On the left, Aaron is now talking with Brad and Sarah, holding hands with Sarah as they stand in line to get food. On the right, we see the squad starting to prepare.
The squad.
Switch to the squad screen. The squad is in what appears to be a locker room. They are grabbing gear and weapons. Each is wearing a military-style name tag. Sue Murray, Brody Jackson, Sergeant Williams Reinhardt, and Zach Cooper. Sue is putting on her black Kevlar vest as she talks and reaches for a Glock to put into her holster as well. She does this all very casually, like she's had lots of experience with it before.
Think we'll see any action tonight, Coop?
Zach looks up from his computer, which seems to have satellite imagery with lines of code. As he talks, he packs the computer away, along with an ancient-looking book.
Doubt it. Big boy Brody will scare him off. All of it. It's too quiet of a night.
Zach makes a mock toast gesture. Brody is proceeding to load his rifle. He already has his body armor on as well, as the sidearm is holstered. We see a cross around his neck as well.
I hope not. It's been too quiet for too long. I'm itching for some action.
It'll come, big guy. It'll come.
I know. That's what my lucky boy is here for. Just in
They
case.
brought a child?
We're the local villagers.
Say hello to my little friend.
It's Simon. It's Simon too.
Brody holds out his palm. There's one final bullet with a cross etched on it. He puts it in the top of his clip.
You know that doesn't actually work, right? Right, big guy?
Brody shrugs.
Yeah, gives me peace of mind. What can I say?
Brody puts the clip into his gun, then puts some grenades and extra ammo in a duffel bag as well before throwing it over his shoulder. He glances briefly at where a flamethrower attachment is hanging on a rack, but shrugs. Clearly he doesn't think it's worth taking the extra weight. He won't need it. Reinhardt opens the door and walks into the room.
Gentlemen, I have an update for tonight's patrol. We have been reassigned to the south side.
The south side? That zone's been dead for months, man. What could we possibly find there?
Is it ironic that it's about vampires and he said it's been dead for months?
Yeah, it might be. I don't know.
Where's your manpower? Where's my arm?
Did he say why, Sarge?
He's paid to give the orders. We're paid to follow them. Am I clear?
Sir, yes, sir.
He's a sergeant. Why are they calling him sir?
We don't. Is that a military
Yes.
thing? Oh.
Sarge, yes, Sarge.
What's the preferred title?
Yes, sergeant.
Oh, okay.
Well, tell Tim.
Yeah,
Tim!
Tim.
Next time.
Oh yeah,
say
I also have
sergeant.
another edit I want to point out.
The lack of
Brody says that it's his
Now
final
we are
bullet.
now out of character.
Brody says it's his final bullet, and then loads it on the top of the clip, and then slides the clip up. That'd be the first bullet.
Well, I got all his bullets. Mark.
It's the only bullet.
No, that's his lucky bullets. I don't think you call all of your bullets the lucky bullet. It's that bullet, and he slides it on top for the
This is
final.
Brody
I'm
we're
just saying,
talking about.
it would
He
be at the
always
bottom.
has a lucky bullet on.
The team picks up the remaining equipment and start walking towards the door. Dinner. Everyone is seated around a long table, especially set up for the occasion. Aaron's dad is at the head, Mrs. Burke, Uncle Bob and Brad are on one side, Aaron and Sarah are on the other. Beth is sitting next to Sarah, others are farther down. Mr. Burke bows his head and everyone follows suit.
Lord, we thank you for this food that you have bountifully provided. We pray that you would nourish our bodies, encourage our spirits, and protect us from evil as we enter this time of joyous celebration. Amen.
Amen.
Actually,
All right,
it says
everyone.
amen.
What? Oh,
Amen.
amen. All right, everyone. Dig in.
The squad continues. We see the squad driving down the highway. It's raining. The car has unusual lights on top. We see them drive past all the usual things we'd see in a mid-sized town. including the mom and pop diner Aaron drove past earlier. We cut to the sun in the sky and see that it's starting to set. Between the rain and low light, everything has an eerie look. Switch to inside the car, where we see the team.
I still say this is one gigantic waste of time.
On the bright side, it looks like we'll get the quiet night I was hoping for. I still have no idea what possessed Jewel to send us out on the south side, though.
Well, it's not as though we were likely to see much action tonight anyway. We've done a pretty good job ridding this town of infestation over the last month. If I say so myself.
Yeah, you're probably right.
B.
What was that?
We watch from Zach's perspective as a shadow flips into an alleyway, almost indiscernible.
What was that?
Didn't any of you guys see that?
I didn't see anything.
Sarge, turn around. Maybe my eyes are playing tricks on me, but I could have swore I saw something run down that side street.
Sergeant Reinhardt does a swift U-turn and pulls down the alleyway. The party. Interior dinner table.
Oh, my foot.
Everyone is finishing up their food now. We hear the low murmur of conversation. Mr. Burke taps his knife on the glass, getting everyone's attention.
When everyone is finished eating, we'll be serving some punch and cake on the side table
This is blank
over
cake.
there. In honor of Aaron's safe return home to us.
We see Aaron blush just a little bit. He clearly doesn't care for all the attention. People gradually start filling over to where Mr. and Mrs. Burke are serving the punch and cake.
I love cake.
Mr. Burke and his wife are smiling and talking with the people as well, clearly enjoying their role as host and hostess. Sarah tugs on Aaron's arm playfully to pull him up.
Oh yeah, that's me, right? Sorry.
Come on, let's go get some cake. By all rights, you should have had the first piece.
You know I don't care for being in the spotlight, sir.
Like, probably sire.
That's Sergeant, actually.
Sir, even if I always end up there somehow.
Aaron and Sarah walk over to where cake is being served, arm in arm. We see Mr. Burke frown ever so slightly at this, but then he grins broadly.
I saved the biggest piece just for you, son.
Aaron grins.
Guess some things never change, huh, Dad?
Never!
Mr. Burke.
There's an exclamation mark.
Never! You will always have the biggest piece of cake!
Get in my belly!
That's right!
Mr. Burke serves Sarah a very average-sized piece of cake.
It says a sign right next to it. It says like average size.
Has a flag on it. Average.
Sarah.
Aaron and Sarah get their punch from Mrs. Burke and then take a seat in the corner, talking and smiling as they eat their cake.
Let's get out of
We
here.
cut to a broader view of the room and see that some people are drinking and getting just a little bit tipsy. Among these is Beth. She's talking and giggling with some other girls.
Now, Beth.
Aaron and Sarah have finished their cake, and Aaron now has his arm gently around her shoulder. Aaron takes a sip of his punch and nods his head towards where Beth and the other girls are still giggling over something.
This is some pretty strong punch.
Would you say it packs a punch?
You know that's awful, right?
Sarah laughs a sweet little laugh.
Yeah.
We follow Sarah's eyes and once again see Beth and the others still acting silly and ditzy.
Oh, you didn't highlight it, so I didn't know.
Oh yeah, I realized something here too. Like he accidentally flipped with it. So like, he did because he's supposed to be. Aaron says I love that you, and then these two are supposed to be put together. He did something wrong.
Okay,
there.
so you do yours.
Aaron, you say your line, and then she says both of them together.
Okay. I love that you're not just like all those other girls.
Don't judge them too hard, Aaron. That's my best friend. Besides, we're all adults here, aside from Simon.
And there's no way your parents are letting your kid brother near that stuff. You're so sweet, Aaron.
I have a question. I've been meaning to ask you for a while now, Sarah.
We see a young woman, in parentheses Kathy, coming towards them.
Sarah, if you lovebirds aren't too busy, Beth's having another one of her nervous breakdowns.
Kathy gestures to the far side of the room, where Beth is sitting on the couch, white-faced and shaking, with the other girls around.
Kathy, be nice.
Aaron is glaring at Kathy, but she doesn't seem to notice.
I'll be right back.
Aaron nods maliciously. We see him toying unnoticeably with the ring behind his back.
You know, up until last page, I thought Sarah and Aaron were brother and sister.
Oh, really?
So did I.
No, you're
No.
his girlfriend.
Yeah.
Oh shit. Okay.
Yeah, I just figured
That would
that
have
out.
been
too.
much
Because he was
different.
going to marry.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's why I got on my knee when I said that last.
Yeah.
Because I figured
Sarah
that's
walks
what it was.
over with Kathy to where Beth is sitting. Kathy looks bored. Sarah looks genuinely concerned. We hear Beth in mid-conversation with the other girls.
It was awful, I'm telling you. There was this creepy man and he was staring at me from the window. His face was...
There. You've just had a bit too much to drink.
We see Kathy roll her eyes.
Out, please.
Sarah shoots Kathy a glare before sitting down beside Beth and placing a comforting hand over hers.
That sounds awful, Beth. But everything is okay now.
Beth smiles self-consciously at Sarah. We see that she has tears on her face.
Thanks for being such a good friend, Sarah. I'm sorry, I'm just such a mess.
That's all right. Now just take it easy and rest.
No, seriously, look at my eyeliner.
We
Oh,
can
it's
fix it in
awful.
post.
It's totally horrendous.
I
Fix it in
don't know if I can
You
fix
must
much
have-
more of it.
You might have still looked in the mirror and saw your reflection. Oh my God.
Kathy, I swear to God.
The camera pans out, and behind the girls, we briefly see a shadowy figure holding an umbrella, staring intently out of the shadows towards the house. Dark, creepy piano version of Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head plays.
Does anyone have a version of this we can play?
I actually had it up on my phone.
Oh, it's fine.
The squad continues.
It plays again, so I
Sue's
probably
point of
should have
view. Sergeant Reinhardt has pulled the
Chim,
squad
chim,
car
chim,
into the
chim,
alley
chim.
and stopped. If we look carefully, we can tell that Aaron's house is a little farther down the street.
Ooh. You're that far behind? No, this is his. I forgot another one. You'll catch those. Just
Cooper, Murray, get out there and check things out.
Yes, sir.
Yes, Sarge.
Zach and Sue get out of the vehicle and start looking around behind trees, down side alleys, etc. They have weapons at the ready, with flashlights equipped. We hear ominous music, and the camera pans out to a little farther behind Zach and Sue, giving the impression that they're being watched. We see a couple tin garbage cans off to the side. We hear a crash. Now, near the
Opposed to the
cans,
middle.
and Sue and Zach both jump and turn their rifles towards the garbage cans. Out from behind the cans, we see a black cat step out and meow. Sue and Zach have a high sigh, letting out their anxiety.
I guess it really must have been my imagination.
Sue signals Sergeant Reinhardt with a thumbs up. Reinhardt rolls down his window.
All clear, Sarge.
That's too bad, bro.
Sue and Zach get back into the car.
All right, man, we'll do one last sweep of the area and call it a night. The team circles back around.
Cut to a shot. Down the road, hidden by bushes, near the burnt open house sign. We
Reinhardt
see
is
him-
recording the whole thing going on, and like the team turns around.
We see him
Sergeant Slog.
staring
Team
intently
circle back around.
towards the window. He is being joined by other shapes. Conversations. We cut to Aaron and his parents having a passionate but muted conversation away from all the guests.
She's not like us, Aaron. She's black. No, I'm just
Oh!
She's not like us.
Walking.
Aaron. Wow. Well,
You
now
mean
we
her-
can't,
Berkeley.
now we can't get monetized.
You mean her family doesn't make enough money to throw big, lavish parties?
Now, Aaron, that's not fair.
It's completely fair. Name one thing you actually don't like about her, either of you.
Pause a beat. They don't know what to say.
Sweetie, we just don't want you to rush into things, that's all.
Mom, we've known each other since elementary school. She's the one.
Wait a minute. Mom, we've known each other since elementary school.
Mom!
Obviously.
I've known you since before elementary school, trust me.
That's as far back as my memory goes.
Son.
I don't want to hear it, Dad. I'm a grown man. I know you don't approve, but I'm 25, and I have the right to make my own decisions.
Aaron stalks off straight-backed, and Mr. and Mrs. Burke look at each other worried.
Jackie, we have to tell her the real reason he can't marry her.
He's not ready.
Werewolf.
He'll never be ready, Jackie.
Vampire.
Would break his heart.
We're already breaking his heart. Can't you see that? Making him choose between us and Sarah.
We notice that Aaron has walked over towards Sarah and Beth, and is now walking with Sarah towards the center of the room. As he reaches the center, he claps his hands together 3 times.
Excuse me! Excuse me! Can I have everyone's attention? I have a very important question to ask Sarah.
Everyone turns their full attention to Aaron and Sarah. Mrs. Burke puts a hand to her mouth. Mr. Burke looks like he's about to have a fit.
Good lord.
Aaron reaches for the ring box in his back pocket.
Oh,
At that
where's
moment,
it at?
the windows shatter, and the room turns dark. The break-in. Split screen.
Breaking.
Right half of screen, about as many people as there are guests, rush into the room as they shatter the window. People are screaming. We see vampires lunge for guests and bite into their necks. Left half of screen, we see the car with the squad as they're driving away. They hear the screams and Reinhardt makes an instant U-turn. Reinhardt stomps on the gas and they come up onto the grass in front of the house where they see the vampires attacking. Back to single screen. The intruders grab the grass and are tearing and biting at them. One intruder, Von Zierveld, heads directly for Aaron and Sarah. He pulls out his pistol and unloads it into the vampire. He empties the full clip. As it continues to come forward, the vampire staggers back, but it keeps moving towards him. We see Aaron watch 2 vampires come for Simon as well. Before Aaron can do anything, the vampire he shot is upon him.
Simon! Sarah! Run!
Aaron shields Sarah with his body. The vampire grabs him, laughing. We see Sarah run for the exit as Aaron blocks the vampire's way. Split screen again. Left half, we see the squad as they pull up and start shooting the vampires from outside. We see the ultraviolet spotlights attached to the vehicle come on and shine into the windows.
Oh my god.
Sue, Brody, and Zach jump out in full combat gear and start running towards the house. Right half, the vampire leans in to bite Aaron. Suddenly, massive ultraviolet light spotlights are shining through all the windows. The vampires attacking Simon are blinded. As is vampire attacking Aaron, we see Simon run out the door as they're distracted. As the vampire attacking Aaron is temporarily blinded, we see Aaron punch him in the face.
Pow!
The vampire suddenly, simply snarls, wrenches Aaron's arm away, and moves back in for the kill. The front door is knocked open by men in uniform, including Reinhardt, Brody, Zoo, Zach, and Sue, who rush in and begin engaging the intruders. It's a tough fight, but the men clearly have the upper hand as the intruders quickly flee. Only one vampire is left. Sue aims her gun at the vampire on top of Aaron, but they're too closely intertwined.
I can't get a clear shot!
We see Brody and Zach as they rush towards Aaron and drag the vampire who's about to bite him off of him. Zach pushes a needle with some sort of chemical into the vampire as Brody wrestles him away from Aaron. As Brody drags the vampire off of Aaron, we see his face. It is Otto von Zuckerl.
No, it can't be!
Hand to Aaron's dead parents. Aaron rushes over and tries to do CPR and resuscitate his parents.
Wake up! Please! Wake up! I'm sorry! I'm so sorry about everything that I said, if only!
Everything is muted. We hear sounds of talking, but we can't hear what's being said. Everything seems blurry except for Aaron and his parents' body. Aaron just kneels there, sobbing and shoulders sinking. Reinhardt kneels down and puts his hands on Aaron's shoulder, but Aaron shakes his comforting hand off angrily and glares at the intrusion. Reinhardt speaks, but his words seem to come down from a long tunnel.
I'm sorry, son, but they're gone.
Reinhardt speaks more, but the rest of what he says is blurry and indistinct. Aaron looks up with tears streaking his face. Reinhardt motions to Sue and Brody. They gently take Aaron by the shoulders and lead him outside. Aaron limply lets them guide him. He stares back at his parents' corpses, not wanting to leave, but not having the willpower to stay. The soldiers hustle Aaron outside to a van, where they seat him in the back. We see him load the unconscious von Ziergefil into the van as well, chained. The van takes off and the silent ride begins. End credits. Simon captured. Sarah's point of view. Simon runs down the street, panting and scared. He keeps looking nervously over his shoulder, but he doesn't see anything. He makes several turns and finally starts to slow down. He seems more relaxed now. Suddenly, we see a figure appears in the alleyway ahead. Simon halts and starts backing away. He turns around. Another figure behind him. The first shadowy figure moves with impossible speed down the alleyway. It's dark, but we see him lean in towards Simon's throat. The other figure speaks.
Once Feigberg, once him alive!
Pause a beat. The first glares at Vampire 2 for ruining his meal, then moves away from Simon's neck.
Now get him in the trunk.
We don't see for sure what happened to Simon, but we hear him being dragged away and a trunk closing. We zoom out down the street and see Sarah hidden in an alleyway watching in horror. When she pulls her head back out of sight of Simon and the vampires and shrinks back behind the dumpster, making herself as small as impossible. And end scene.
Well done, everyone.